back to Otaku no Video. As always, thank you very much for joining me for a quick preview of the anime that's going to come out in the fall 2010 anime season. Now, most of these series haven't even been released yet in Japan, but we do know what's coming out. I do know what's coming out, so I wanted to share that with you. I'm going to share a bit of my views on this, but this is more, here's a quick fix of what's coming out, so you have a quick idea of things. A lot of stuff, I would say the main trends are sequels and odd premises, which seems to come up a lot in anime. So, beginning in no particular order with Star Driver, a mecha series by Bones. That's all I need to know, personally. Basic premise is there's a giant robot sealed underground, person is the key to activating it, all that kind of stuff. You know, classic mecha stuff. It's by Bones, it's gonna look gorgeous. Why not? Also looks a lot like Basquash, the recent Shoji Kawamori series about giant robots playing basketball. So I'm intrigued. I'm up for that kind of thing. Then the Iron Man anime. That's right, they're doing an anime of the Iron Man character that we all know and love now that there have been Hollywood movies made out of it. I have seen the first episode of this. The two interesting things about this is one that's made by Madhouse, so the animation is at the very least competent throughout the entire show and sometimes looks really good. It's also written by Warren Ellis, who is quite famous within the American and European comic world. He's an excellent, excellent comic writer. He's been doing comics for a couple of decades now. He did Transmetropolitan. Lots of just really, really big, sort of Watchmen scale stuff. And that's big. So he's writing this, and that's awesome. And I've seen the first episode. It is essentially set up and establishing the characters and so forth, and that's kind of Warren Ellis' style. So, you know, the first episode is not this hugely dramatic, oh my gosh, you know, that was the most genius thing I've ever seen. It's establishing things, because he knows how many episodes he has to work with. Then Panty & Stocking with Garter Belt, the recent anime, or the anime coming out from Gainax. This looks like the Powerpuff Girls, and feels like Furikuri, and is quite adult. One of the characters, her main joke is that she has sex a lot. So, basically, two girls are blessed by God in some way. The one girl's panties turn into a gun. She takes them off, they turn into a gun. The other girl, she pulls out her stocking, it turns into a katana, and they fight demons. Ridiculously over-the-top action. It's actually, the half-hour episodes are split into two distinct stories, so it's just ridiculous. Huge sheet count, partly because it's so such simplified character designs. It's fun. It's ridiculous. It's Gainax, and there's no depth whatsoever. Then Psychic Detective Yakumo, which is about a psychic detective, of all things. Young man who has an eye that can see spirits, and so is trying to release them, make them go away, whatever terminology they decide to use in that show. And interestingly, the art style kind of looks like Death Note a little bit, so I'm curious to see, at least the manga, you know, Death Note the manga, so who knows. By B-Train, which does interesting stuff anyway. Then, weird premise here, Kuragi Hime is about a college girl, I believe, who travels to Tokyo. She wants to become an illustrator, and she finds an all-girls sort of apartment complex dorm type thing. And unfortunately, well, a very stylish woman comes in, decides to become a roommate. The woman is actually a guy. Yes, so it's one of those wonderful gender-bending type of stories. Speaking of illustrators, the Bakuman anime is also coming out. This is an anime about a couple of guys who want to become we want to make manga. They want to be mangaka. So they're starting to spin up that whole hell of a life. And that's a manga that got a lot of attention within the manga community when it came out. So anime is coming, that's cool. Being done by JC Staff, which they tend to do good stuff as well. The second season of Letter B, Tegami Bachi, Letter B Reverse, is also coming out. I'm not going to talk too much about the second seasons of things, because I figure if you watch the first season, you're probably going to want to check out the second season if you know it exists. If you weren't really interested in the first season, you're probably not going to watch the second season. So go back and watch the first season if you're interested. Then from A1 Pictures, this is hard to read, Yogoinu no Chi, I think. I'll put it up somewhere. It's set after World War III. Japan's divided in two. A man tries to reveal the mysteries around stuff that's happened, and accused of a crime, offered freedom if action, continues. One of those things. Then, another odd one, Sorodemo Machi wa Mawateru. Sorry for the horrible pronunciation there. It's about a girl who works in a little town, a neighborhood shopping district, rather. She wears a maid outfit, don't know quite why that is, and she wants to become a high school girl detective. And so it's apparently a slice of life story about just the little mini adventures she has during her life in this shopping district. Should be fun, who knows. Being done by Shaft, which, good quality there usually. Then Squid Girls, another kind of Moe Blob series, about a girl who's kind of like a mermaid, only instead of being part like fish, she's part squid. But she gets so annoyed with these terrible humans who are, polluting the ocean. She decides she's going to go up to the surface and she's going to teach them something. And so she goes up. She takes the form of a girl and is immediately indebted to some restaurant and has to work off her debts. So it's one of those just cute Moe series, clearly aimed at kind of a younger audience and pervy 40-year-old otaku men. The second season of Arakawa Under the Bridge is also coming out, and that's just a continuation of Arakawa Under the Bridge. Don't know much what else to say about that one. Then, this is interesting, Hyaka Ryoran Samurai Girls. It's set in modern day, but as if Japan remained closed to the West. So it never opened up, never modernized. Or at least it modernized, but not with outside influences. So you have this, apparently, world where it's tried to preserve Japanese heritage and Japanese tradition and so forth. And it's set at a giant academy, and the student council is trying to hold order together, and there are samurai girls and all that kind of stuff. So, we'll see. Then, The World God Only Knows. It's kind of a fun premise. The main character has no luck with girls in real life, but he is known among all of his friends as the capturing god, aka he plays dating sims, and he's incredibly good at dating sims. He just knows his way through them immediately by intuition, so he captures girls' hearts, immediately. And then he stumbles upon one of these magical things where you've transgressed something, so you have to, collect 100 cards or whatever. But in this case, he has to make like 100 girls fall in love. So he has to actually use these things he's learned in dating sims on real girls, which is kind of cute. Then Otome Yokai Zakuro, which roughly translates to like Demon Girl Zakuro or Monster Girl Zakuro. It's set in an alternate Meiji era where apparently like fox girls and things like that exist, and they are trying to be integrated into Japanese society, and there's this weird thing about trying to put them together with human soldiers, and I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, it sounds interesting, and apparently the main character, Zakuro, has very strong personality, so hey. Then Yosuga no Sora looks to be the more dating sim-ish inspired anime, where it's two siblings and they have various trials and travails. Some folks are suggesting this might be our incest title of the season. There's nothing in the actual description that suggests any of that. I think it's more just them dealing with stuff and trying to be good siblings. But who knows? And another thing we can certainly predict, and I don't think it was a surprise to anyone, was the success of Index and the continuing success of Index. And because Index and Railgun did so well, there's a second season of A Certain Magical Index coming out, and it's going to use characters from both Index and Railgun. Now, this is based on a series of light novels where that happened, so it's just continuing on to that storyline. So we'll see all those characters together in that, which is pretty cool. Second season of Sora no Otoshimono Forte, and I'm not going to say anything more about that. Also second season of Hakuoki Shinsengumi Kitan, which is about the Shinsengumi being taken over by zombies, apparently, and a girl's involved. And odd, but interesting. I saw the first episode of the first season, and well animated, done by Studio Dean. So. Then Momoto Love, which apparently is a sequel, but I've never heard of this before. Basically, this boy is bathing when a mysterious nude girl appears out of nowhere in his bathtub. I think we all know where this is going, so let's move on. Fourth season of Hetalia Axis Powers. Again, yeah, Hetalia. Then the title is My Little Sister Can't Be This Cute, which sounds really pervy, but turns out it's not that bad. The main character is like a high school boy. His younger sister is like a child model, but he doesn't really, he has the typical kind of sibling thing where he thinks she's annoying. Turns out she's a big fan of hentai dating sims. Thank you, Japan. And so he has to keep that secret from everyone else, and other things he has to keep secret about her. So the title is more of a joke, that other people think she's cute, but I don't. Moving on to MM. As if the first one wasn't creepy enough, this one's about a masochist. It's a harem anime about a masochist. If you don't know what masochism is, I'm not going to tell you. Oh, and one of the girls is a sadist, so hey, it works out that way. I've seen the first episode of this. I'm not watching any more. Followed by, it's not terrible, that's what it is. Then Fortune Arterial Red Promise, which definitely looks like a dating sim. The story revolves around a transfer student who goes to a remote island school and discovers one of the girls there is a vampire. And I'm sure they fall in love. I don't know. Tante Opera Milky Homes, which, boy, that sounds like hentai, but isn't. It's more one of these cute little girls stories, so it's basically aimed at either 10-year-old girls or creepy 40-year-old men. And it's about a couple of like preteen girls who all want to be detectives, and it's sort of this fantasy world that's kind of modern, but it's certainly not our world, and so they all run around in deerskin caps and magnifying glasses and investigate crimes, and they're meant to be very cute. But definitely aimed at a different audience than your typical Star Driver or Index. Speaking of Star Driver, this season we get Super Robot Tyson the Inspector! Yes! Super Robot Tyson, or Super Robot Wars, is a series of video games using a bunch of mecha, using super robots, giant robots. And the awesome thing is that the original games licensed like every mecha anime ever. So you could go in and you could build up an army that consisted of like Evangelions and Gundams and Valkyries and the Ideon and all sorts of different stuff. And it was just really awesome. But they also told original stories. Now, because of the licensing deals, doing an anime of that would be insane. So the Inspector, this series, is going to be an original story using their own mecha. But the fun thing is, I've seen one of the original OVAs, it's ridiculous. You've got giant robots that combine to form bigger giant robots. And lasers and lots of missiles and drill arms and muscly men and curvy women and all that kind of good stuff from a mecha. So, good stuff there. Looking forward to it. There's also a new Pokemon series coming out. Big surprise there. Based on the black and white games. So Pokemon Best Wishes coming out this season. Also, speaking of licensed tie-ins, Battle Spirits Brave third season of Battle Spirits Brave, which is based on a trading card game. And now we're getting into sort of the weirder things. We've got Karl Tofushigi Nato, which looks like a children's book. I think it's one of these things aimed more at kindergartners. A young boy lives in this fantasy world, and this clock tower is supposed to ring out the hours, but it stops, so he has to go investigate. Then You Are Delicious, which is about dinosaurs. And I can't make head or tail of the description, so You Are Delicious, it's about dinosaurs. Rita e Machin, which looks to be an adaptation of a French storybook, and they're keeping the style of the original storybook, so it's sort of this weird, well, not weird, but this very sketchy black and white sort of artwork, very simplistic, all white with black lines and single blotches of red for things. Interesting. And then R+100F for our final anime, aka Robin with his 100 friends. It's about a boy who moves to, was it Green Village, and wants to make 100 friends. And it looks kind of like Farmville, and I think it's one of these things that's aimed at, little kids, basically. So that's the anime coming out this season. Please stop on by otakunovideo.net to discuss more as we all see this stuff and check it out. And I hope this has been helpful, and until next time, keep looking for some more awesome anime.